Did you know in Japan, May 9th is officially recognized as Goku Day? Funnily enough, May 9th in the Dragon world itself was King Piccolo's coronation day, which he didn't really get to celebrate. Toriyama likely decided to choose May 9th because Go and Ku are similar to the Japanese words for 5 and 9. Toriyama does famously love his puns after all. This same pun is why in 2015, Japan officially celebrated its first ever Goku Day. So now in my own celebration to one of my favorite anime characters of all time, I'll be ranking all of Goku's transformations on a few things I myself find important, rather than power. How good is the build-up and payoff? What is the influence on the story? What does it change about Goku's fighting style? How cool does the transformation look? And whatever else I happen to think of. This is a very subjective list, so please take everything with a healthy grain of salt. We will be ranking Kaioken and Ultra Instinct, mostly because I want to, but also because while they are techniques, they function very similarly to other transformations on this list. So with all that being said, let's get started. All the way down at the bottom at number 12, and yes, we actually have that many forms to go over. We actually have two transformations, Super Saiyan Grade 2 and Super Saiyan Grade 3, and both of these transformations, in my opinion, are completely pointless. Goku gets them, says they're not good, never uses them again. They're really only there to build up for Super Saiyan Grade 4 or Full Power Super Saiyan, so besides that, they're kind of meaningless, and aside from that, they kind of just look like Super Saiyan Goku with puffy muscles. At number 11, we have Ultra Instinct plus Super Saiyan God, which is kind of like a weird combination of the two Goku uses when he fights Granola in the manga. This really doesn't do much of anything and is immediately shown to not be effective enough, and then is thrown to the side for the regular Ultra Instinct transformation. Besides the fact it is a cool concept, it doesn't do anything, is only shown for a very short period of time, and basically just looks like Super Saiyan God Goku, but he is weaving some attacks. At number 10, we have two forms which are essentially the same thing, just difference between the anime and the manga, and that is the idea of Blue Kaioken, as I like to call it, which in the anime is Goku using Kaioken on top of Super Saiyan Blue, and in the manga it's Goku using the principles of Kaioken on the Super Saiyan Blue transformation. At least that's how it's explained to us. Both of them are alright. I mean, they're better than the previous things we've talked about, as they actually do something. At least in the anime it does. In the manga it really doesn't. However, in the anime it kind of lacks any real feeling of impact, as Goku has only just gotten Super Saiyan Blue and is immediately pulling this sort of like advanced version of it out. And then in the manga, it's cool, much cooler than the anime version, especially because of the way it looks, but it doesn't do anything, so it kind of holds it back from being higher up on the list. Next up at number 9, we have Super Saiyan 2, which mostly suffers from a lack of originality, mostly just looking like Super Saiyan with spiky hair and a little bit of added lightning, which doesn't really do it any favors. This form is not as special for Goku as it is for Gohan. One of the things this form does have going for it though is that it does have a very good fight with Vegeta in the Buu Saga. However, the presence of this form doesn't really make or break this fight, and this just as easily could have been a fight between two Super Saiyan 1s. At number 8, we have the Ozaru, which actually has a lot of cool lore behind it, going all the way back to early Dragon Ball. Goku accidentally kills his own grandfather in this form, and for that reason I would put it a little higher than Super Saiyan 2, which doesn't really have any significant lore events like that. However, after that, this form isn't really utilized much, only being shown twice afterwards. Once to break out of Pilaf's castle, and the second time when he's fighting against Master Roshi in the World Martial Arts Tournament. However, the second time the form really doesn't do anything. This form later is much more significantly utilized by both Gohan and Vegeta, and Goku never really fights a main antagonist or anything like that with this form. However, it does have a lot of cool lore behind it and is arguably one of the most interesting things on this list, as well as being a cool reference to the werewolf mythos. Next up, we have Full Power Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan Grade 4. What's kind of cool about this form is it's essentially the first form that Goku invents himself. It sports the regular Super Saiyan design, but sometimes Goku is shown with a more kinder expression on his face, showing that he's in better control of his emotions. There's not a lot to really say about this form, other than the fact that it has a decent bit of payoff to what becomes Gohan's Super Saiyan 2 transformation. What's also interesting about this form is the massive power gap it creates between Goku and Vegeta, that Goku is very eager to mention when he gets out of the time chamber. Besides that, this form really isn't anything too special, so that stops it from going further up the list, but it is very cool nonetheless. At number 6, we have Super Saiyan Blue, which I'll be combining with Super Saiyan Blue Perfected. Originally, I did not like these forms, but over time they've kind of grown on me, and I actually like them quite a bit now. Especially because Goku has a lot of cool and interesting fights in this form, as well as pulling out new and interesting abilities. This form has also become extremely iconic, often being shown front and center even in comparison to other older forms, as well as being the form of Goku that was displayed in the Macy's Day Parade. So this form has become a key visual for the Dragon Ball franchise, and for that, I think it deserves this spot. Next up, we have Super Saiyan God, which I love the look of, as red's my favorite color and I like the fact it slims Goku down. However, I will say blue is a better design, as it fits better with Goku's general colors and already existing aesthetic. While both forms have cool moments, blue does have the better fights overall. However, what in my opinion makes Super Saiyan God special is that it debuted in a movie that essentially revitalized the franchise. If you've not been a Dragon Ball fan for a long time, you may not know, but by the time Battle of Gods came out, we'd been starved for Dragon Ball content since essentially the 90s. While Dragon Ball Kai came out in the meantime, that really didn't feel like anything new or original, so when this movie was announced, I personally was very excited. Additionally, this was the first ever time a transformation was directly compared and stated superior to fusion. That and the fact it lets Goku directly compete with a god really did make this form seem otherworldly when it debuted. Alright, so while we're only ranking canon transformations in this video, there's one transformation that if I did not mention it, everybody in the comments would ask me, Rising, where's Super Saiyan 4? So as an honorable mention, this is where I would put it. If I'm going to be entirely honest, it's just because it's cool. The transformation is cool, the first fight we see it in is cool, the way it looks is cool. Honestly, the main issue with Super Saiyan 4 is the gross yellow pants. If we took the Xeno Goku Super Saiyan 4 design, this form might even be a little higher up on the list. However, since I'm taking the GT interpretation, this is where I would put it if I was ranking it. Although I will say you could reasonably move anything from number 4 to number 6 around and put it in whatever order you want, and I would be just fine with that. Those transformations, in my opinion, are incredibly close to each other in terms of how much I like them, including Super Saiyan 4. And yes, there's a lot wrong with GT, and yes, this form was not designed by Toriyama, and yes, it does have gross, ugly yellow pants. But if you were watching Dragon Ball GT as a kid, you thought Super Saiyan 4 was cool. That's all there is to it. And for a really long time, this was considered to be Goku's most powerful form. And also just the way he beats down Baby the first time he shows up in his transformation is just so satisfying. However, since it's non-canon, I'm not really including GT in terms of story weight. As an honorable mention, this is where I would put it. Alright, so next up, if we are just going by canon appearances, this would be all the way down below Super Saiyan Blue, as I think the eyebrows look kinda goofy, Goku essentially pulls this form out of his ass, and there's only 2 significant fights Goku has in this form. But when I think of Super Saiyan 3, I think of Fusion Reborn and Wrath of the Dragon, and I know I'm ranking them based on canon appearances, but these 2 movies simply made Super Saiyan 3 cooler to me overall, including in the main story. Like watching Goku pull out the Dragon Fist against Hirudegarn simply made me more hype each time I saw the transformation after that. And that's not even getting started on Fusion Reborn. When Goku fights Super Janemba in this form, to me genuinely this was one of the coolest fights in all of Dragon Ball. The way Janemba's abilities look, the way Goku dashes around and attacks him, and the hair kind of trails behind him as he moves around, it all just is so visually interesting to look at that it really made me love Super Saiyan 3. When Goku transforms into Super Saiyan 3 in his movie, it's just so awesome. So yeah, Super Saiyan 3 really is only all the way up here just because of cool factor. So next up, we have something I'm sure a lot of people are surprised I'm even putting on the list, but everybody likes this technique. At number 3, we have Kaioken. I'm not going to get onto why it's on the list anymore, but let's be real. This ability is awesome. Every single time Goku pulls it out in Z, it's extremely exciting. It has this amazing dynamic feel to the fight. And it's exceptionally good at paying off as to what it's setting up, because Goku is immediately told not to ramp up the Kaioken too much, but to even compete against Vegeta, he has to. And the moment he goes into Kaioken times 3 and starts beating the piss out of Vegeta, God, it gets exciting. And then it's paid off beautifully with the Kaioken times 4. After that, until Goku fights Frieza, we only see glimpses of the Kaioken, but when we do, every time it's exciting. The scene in which Goku does the Kaioken times 20 against Frieza is one of the most exciting moments in all of Dragon Ball, and while it ultimately doesn't succeed, at that point in time it is still so incredibly hype. After that, sadly, we don't see the normal Kaioken anymore. However, for the short period it was Goku's main ability, it was so awesome. At number 2, we have Ultra Instinct, and I'm combining both Ultra Instinct Omen and Ultra Instinct Perfected. Why? Because that way I think it 100% deserves this spot. You might enjoy the look of one form more than the other, or the initial transformation, or one of the other, but they're essentially the same thing. One of them is basically just half the transformation. And Ultra Instinct is really awesome. Being inspired by concepts in real life martial arts, this transformation really brings Dragon Ball back to martial arts. And not only that, but each main fight Goku has in this form is incredibly exciting, and it's currently Goku's ultimate form. If I had to take anything away from this form, something I didn't like about it, probably the giant spectral form Goku makes in the final Moro fight, which while kinda cool, doesn't really fit with Dragon Ball in my personal opinion. However, that's a minor gripe in comparison to everything else this form does that's incredibly cool. Alright, let's be real. When you read the title of the video or you saw the thumbnail, you already knew what number 1 was going to be. Everybody did. It is, in my opinion, the most iconic transformation in all of anime. It has inspired hundreds of other stories, and it's the only transformation on this list I would say might be even more famous than Goku's base form. So to the surprise of nobody, at number 1, we have Super Saiyan. And I really don't know what I would have to say to convince the people that don't think this is number 1 to put it up here, because really this entry really speaks for itself. It has incredible build-up, incredible payoff. It has fantastic fights. It is the most iconic design on the list. It inspired just about everything else, and it really stands in a league of its own almost. Well, I will say that various areas on this list are pretty comparable to one another. This really stands at the top by itself. I mean, this transformation is so integral to Dragon Ball, it outshines Super Saiyan God in Battle of Gods. There really is nothing else as iconic, awesome, exciting, and special as Super Saiyan. So I really don't feel like I have to say anything else. So, that's the list. Well, my list at least. Feel free to tell me how you would rank Goku's transformations, and if you enjoyed the video, click buttons, you know the drill. With all that being said, I hope you have a nice day.